know, my history and my background is music. So
How did you start in music?
I think I've been messing with music since I was 13, 14, turntables. I didn't own the equipment.
Yeah.
So I used to go into music stores and just sit there and learn the machines, you know what I mean, use the keyboards. And so by the time I was about 18, I knew a lot of the keyboards just from going into music stores until they kicked me out.
Are you from a musical family?
Nah,
How did you
I mean, I'd say musical in terms of they listen to a lot of
Yeah,
music,
yeah.
but not, especially my aunt. I had an aunt that had a really nice record collection. My pops and stepmoms had a decent collection, but my aunt is the one who really had the collection. At some point, I actually jacked some of her collection. That ended up being a little issue, but like, you learn, we progress, try not to steal.
Yeah.
I went to Hampton in Virginia,
Wow.
and
Hey, true?
yeah, yeah. You went to Hampton? Yeah, all right. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was a finance major. And then I talked to school, the head of the music department, because Hampton had a studio. And I talked him into letting me use the studio. So I would just he would give me studio time.
Yeah.
And that's really how it started.
And then it evolved.
Hampton was a melting pot of stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Hove was down there hustling. Diddy was throwing parties, you know what I mean? Like, it was a lot going on in Hampton. Iverson's from there, Timbaland's from there, Pharrell's from there.
Yeah.
You know, I met Pharrell and Chad down then. Teddy set up shop there, Teddy Riley. So my first deal was with Teddy Riley.
Why was that happening in Virginia at that time?
I don't even know, man. I think it's just, well, you know, Hampton had a lot of girls.
Okay.
So that attracted,
Yeah.
you know, it was like, shoot, it might have been 10-1 girls to dudes.
Yeah.
And then you had all that around there. So it was Hampton, it was Norfolk, it was, so you had Norfolk State, you had ODU, you had Virginia Beach, you had Portsmouth, you had Newport News, all of that right around there. So, you know, Iverson was from Hampton, you know, Pharrell and them was from like Virginia Beach, Timbaland, you know what I'm saying? So it was all this going on. Missy was from Portsmouth, all in the same area, you know what I mean? So this is a Detroit thing happening right
I
now.
would agree.
There's definitely a resurgence of what's going on in Detroit. There's a lot of artists. You see different people coming here signing artists. Yo Gotti was up here signing somebody.
Yeah.
You know, Lil Yachty's doing collabs. I mean, everyone's, you know, really, you know, Big Sean's coming back,
Yeah.
you know, so.
This music means so much to the culture. You talk about like these deals. Record labels are almost like bad venture capital firms a lot of time.
They got terms in the record labels that were still in the contracts in the 50s. And in some cases, they're even worse because, you know, they got to participate, you know the term 360.
Yeah. So break down what a 360 deal is.
360 deal is a recording contract, and a recording contract is, you know, you get a loan for a house, you pay back your loan, then you own the house.
Yep.
You know, when you get a loan to do your album and you pay it back, you got a royalty, which is a percentage of the profit. So you don't own the master. The copyright is the master, and it's really important in this day and age that you own masters because the biggest income streaming, you know, the majority of music is consumed by streaming, and for streaming services such as Spotify, Apple, they're known as DSPs, digital service provider. They have to license the master owners. The majority of master owners are obviously major labels, and the majority of artists do not participate in that. So that's millions and millions of dollars in master ownership licensing fees that DSPs pays that artists don't participate in. So they participate in the performance, which means how many times your record is listened to. But for your record to even be on that service, they have to pay. And the most artists don't participate in that. Chance the Rapper does, because he owns, you know what I mean? And so when you hear people talking about they own their masters, they're participating in that, or getting it all, you know what I mean? So.
Are the artists not aware that this is happening? Or are they seeing the bread and they're like, I need the bread right now? Like, why is it continuing to happen?
They're aware, but you know, it's a game of leverage. You know what I mean? It's like anything, man. You know what I mean? And you got to think, most artists ain't coming from a place of economic resources. You know, so most artists are just trying to get on. You know what I mean? And trying to, you know, live, create music. And this is the opportunity that exists. So if someone's offering you $250,000, and you ain't, you know, and maybe you was in the street, or maybe you had a job and you was working a full-time job, and you got $250,000 in your pocket, you're gonna take it, because it's a chance to live your dream, and then you find other ways to make money, touring, merch, you know, different ways, endorsements. You know, most people when they get a record deal, the only money they see from their record deal is in advance, which is just debt. You know, but most times they never see royalties.
So my record deal is alone, and then my signing bonus, my advance is alone.
As a loan, it's just debt. You know, but a lot of people don't look at it because, well, they make money normally. You get out there and you tour. You know, you build up your shows. So you know, the majority of artists that you see that are making really good money is their touring money and their endorsements. You know what I mean? You start, you know, and then there's late night. You know what I mean? Meaning you got the tour money and then you got the late night bag, you know, paper bag money. Run through the club. I mean, shoot, I used to, you know, be with 2 Chainz sometimes. He go 2-3 spots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you might pick up another 100.
Yeah. Damn.
You know,
That's crazy.
30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, 30 minutes one more spot.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Let me tell you.
49.7% of black males that died between the age of 15 and 24 died because of homicide.
Yep.
Do
And
you
it,
feel like the music,
well, I
is it
feel.
education, is it poverty, like what?
Well, it's a cycle. It's been a cycle. So, you know, the one thing I do know about, you know, I was fortunate. I grew up in the hood, but I was bused to a Jewish community.
Yep.
And I saw the difference in my community and the Jewish community. And so in the Jewish community, you know, you didn't have a liquor store on every corner. You didn't have check cash in places like that. You didn't, you know, it was a different thing. And then if you go in the Jewish community, the people that own the businesses in the Jewish community were Jewish. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you go in my hood, you know, the Chinese store was owned by the Asians. You know, the cleaners was owned by another nationality. The liquor store was owned by another nationality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you also think about the home ownership, a lot of the home ownership was outside of the community as well. So I think if you put this cycle of poverty in it, you know what I mean? And then you add in the economic situations, right?
Yeah.
You know, lack of education, which, you know, obviously black men with records, making it more difficult to get jobs,
Yep.
you know what I mean? And so on and so forth. And then there's the other side of the homicide thing. So meaning there's the guy who committed the homicide, so meaning somebody's getting killed,
Yeah.
but the guy who committed the homicide, now he's getting jailed. So now you took out 2 people.
Yep.
So every time that happens, it's 2 people going down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The one thing is that I feel like I was empowered young, and this is having my pops in the house, but I really feel like information. You know what I'm saying? So I had 2 other first cousins who both did 20 years for murder. And I was the one who made it out. You know what I mean? I had my pops, I had sports. He kept me out of the streets with sports, you know, and it was information.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These 2, my other 2, they didn't have the information.
Yeah.
You know, we're caught up in a vicious cycle. Now, going back to the music, when I came up in my generation, I think, you know, 90s, if you will, I really came up on late 80s, early 90s hip hop. You had the negative shit in terms of the gun violence, but you also had the balance. You know, you had the positive rap, which was flavor, like, you know, Tribe Called Quest. You had so there was a yin and the yang. So now the problem is now it's out of balance. You know what I mean? For every Childish Gambino, and Chance the Rapper, there's 10 other. You know, there's 10 others talking about guns and murder and blah, 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 and selling drugs and chains and that. So it's the balance is out of whack. And that's what, and it still goes back to the record labels though, right? Because it's what they choose to invest in. So it's like, okay, cool, we're gonna hire 10 of these gun toters. We're gonna invest in that versus like balance it. And that's, you know, and that's like, say, good music where, you know, we would sign a Big Sean. We might have a Pusha T, but when we have all this other stuff to balance it out. So the only one you talking about any negative or drug stuff was Pusha T. And Pusha T was part of the culture, so it was like, even though he was drug rap, he was, you know, he came from Pharrell and Virginia, and it was a thing. So we balance, you know, the whole thing was about the balance.
Yeah.
From entertainment and high level taste rap and educated rap, you know, to entertainment with Big Sean and so on and so forth. So it was a balance. And that's not what's happening across the board, you know. And I'm not, you know, I'm not knocking anybody, you know, anybody's hustle, because everybody's trying to get their money and come up. And, you know, and when you come from nothing to something, you know, you got to be proud of that and applaud that anyway, or a young entrepreneur. But with the same thing, I feel like at some point it becomes a responsibility. I think that's what Top did. With you know, he came from a gang situation. You know what I mean? But, you know, and he had J-Rock, who's gang, you know, come from a gang situation, but he balanced it. You know what I mean? For J-Rock, you got a Kendrick. You know what I mean? For Schoolboy Q, you got an Ab Soul. You know what I mean? You got a Isaiah Ryder, you got a SZA. So to me, they're the modern label that's done it. I had to get to the right codes, you know. I really appreciate Jay-Z for opening up his home. He opened up his home for me for about 5 or 6 different times
Yeah.
to sit one-on-one with him in the living room and gave me cheat codes. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that. You know, everyone don't have the opportunity to go sit with Jay-Z and Quincy, but hopefully I can do the same and share, you know what I mean? And share the codes they gave me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so,
And I think that's important. I think that's what we're trying to accomplish with this platform. We're trying to
Yeah.
like, we have access to all these people because we care about our craft, and then we try to share that access.
Yeah.
And then you have all this access. We're trying to get you to share
yeah.
the access.
Yep.
So let's just share one cheat code with us that you had, that you got from Jay, that you got from Quincy.
From Quincy, there was one major thing which is I tried to make it a mantra in my life. I even got it tattooed on my arm. On my arm, my tattoo says "Be exceptional daily." So it's a daily reminder to don't slack. Every day, try to get up, be exceptional. So what I learned from Quincy, which he really reinforced, even at 86, he's still learning. Every day, he tries to learn something new. So at 86, this man is still out there learning, doing concerts, doing shit. He's active. So that's really important to stay learning, stay sharp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like stay in the dojo, stay in the library, stay whatever it is, whatever your process is. And one of the things I think is that people don't talk about enough is happiness. You know, you're hearing it's coming up more. What I do like is people talking about mental health more. Some people, it's like, yeah, they might need therapy, but you know what? They got to pay the rent. They got to put food on the table. So as much as they might need to go to therapy, they ain't got time for that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think happiness is not valued enough. You know, I think one of the things, I think on my way up, my journey, I was in it, right? Meaning I was just in it, grinding, working hard, you know, trying to take care of the family, this and that. I don't even think I knew what happiness was trying to make myself happy. I don't think I even had an understanding of that till I got older. So that was experience where I was like, you know what? As much as I want this paper and I want this other thing, what's important to me is happiness. What's my peace of mind like? What's my daily, you know? So now it's like I'm zenned out, you know what I mean? I got a garden, you know what I mean? I live behind the gates, you know what I mean? I literally, it's about waking up with peace, you know what I'm saying? Well, from Hove, I would say one of the cheat codes was really like whatever it is you're embarking on, if you learn, whatever it is, if you're opening a juice bar, learn the shit, like really know it. Like don't be in there gaming, like, you know what I mean? Like don't half-ass it. I really feel like, I'll give an example, and I ain't by no means am I criticizing Puffy, but I feel like, for instance, you built a network and you created this opportunity, created these jobs, but I don't really feel like he made the network as crazy as could be. Revolt could be, I mean, Lena Waithe could be making shows on Revolt. Jordan Peele could be making shows on Revolt. You know, Shonda Rhimes could be having shows, like Revolt could be crazy. It could be the biggest network and everybody supporting it in the Beacon community. So I do feel like there's certain things like that, like where they've created these opportunities, and I appreciate that during the jobs, but I feel like they stopped along the way, you know what I mean? And that's not knocking his hustle, but I just feel like as people create these opportunities, same thing, keep, you know, don't just get in the door and kill it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dr. Dre always said this to me. He used to always say, I keep a bullshit bullshit-free environment. He was like, if someone comes with some bullshit, they gotta go. He's like, you know, because obviously he went through what he went through. And he's like, so his whole mission was like, yo, I keep a bullshit-free environment. So then I was like, you know, as I'm on it and I'm, you know, working in other people's environments I don't control, I realized, okay, you know what, all this energy in here ain't healthy. You know what I mean? Some of this energy is toxic. So is my mental health and my zen, is it worth it? Is the compensation, you know what I mean? Nah, you know what I'm saying? And that was the decision.
Somebody that was trying to do everything you're talking about, right? Create platforms, invest in their community, so on and so forth, got slain. Somebody that you advise, somebody that you that advised you, you know what I'm saying? Nip meant a lot to everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, how did that affect you and people that's really in that space? I mean, we watched it, but like,
Yeah, the Eric Holder cat, that just showed you, once again, the lack of information.
Yeah.
Meaning, whatever your personal grudge was with Nip, Nip was bigger than that. Like, you know, what Nip was doing and Nip's purpose was bigger than that. You know what I mean? Malcolm X's purpose was bigger than that. You know what I'm saying? So when the black man that they hired to come in and you know, and shoot Malcolm, you know, and he had a petty gripe with him because of the, you know, the Nation of Islam and you know what was going on with the Nation of Islam and the CIA getting involved and people poisoning that. But Malcolm was bigger than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, Muhammad Ali, it's like assassinate Muhammad Ali or something, right? He's bigger than that. He serves a bigger purpose. You know, they wanted to kill Muhammad Ali. He was a loud ass black man.
Yeah.
You know, popping his shit. You know what I'm saying? So they wanted the motherfuckers that fell in line, not these disruptive motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So Nipsey was that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in this case, it was a black man that had a petty beef because his ego was hurt, and that goes back to as we know, a lot of black men get murdered over ego. You know what I'm saying? Whether somebody hurt their ego and then they attack somebody, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's sad about it is that the Eric dude, because of the lack of information, was not able to have the perspective that even though maybe I'm not feeling what Nipsey's saying to me and he hurt my feelings or whatever the case may be, but this motherfucker is bigger than that. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta let that go.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he serves a bigger purpose for my neighborhood, for my community, for my family. You know what I'm saying?
I don't want to see another Nipsey situation happen.
And unfortunately,
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see that shit happen.
unfortunately, it's gonna.
Right? But what do we need to be doing? How can you use your platform? How can we, like, what needs to happen for us to heal so we're not fucking killing ourselves?
I only know how to do it by example, meaning it's just about sharing information and pulling people up and this and that. I don't know, like I know other people like more community activists. I've heard Rashid Common speak and say things and and really back it up with his actions, and John Legend and some of the community activism stuff they do. That's not my thing. So my thing is, okay, I want to really figure out how to give back to the school, to the hood, and education. That's more my platform versus like community activism. My version of community activism is more education and information. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because I kid you not, I've been on the block where I've talked to 15-year-olds that's in the trap, and just literally just sharing information with them, and to see that spark. You're like, oh word, oh you know what I mean? Like oh shit, you what? I could stack this, and I could go cop me a crib, or I could do this. You know what I mean? Like just giving them information. And you just see that spark. It shows me that we are a bunch of black kings and queens. You know what I'm saying? And we have to realize that. You know what I mean? We can't look in the mirror. Every time we look in the mirror, we got to realize that it's not about any kind of arrogance, but it is that is our calling.
It's self-love.
Yeah, it is exactly. It is self-love. And other people have self-hate. That's why they've always tried to oppress us. That's just self-hate. That's something wrong with you. Ain't nothing wrong with me. So, and now we're in that cycle, so we got to keep pulling ourselves out of it. But it comes down to self-love and sharing the
No,
Yeah,
appreciate you, bro.
definitely, man.
All right.
Definitely enjoyed it.